Let's now study about thermodynamics. So thermodynamics is the study of heat in motion. So thermo means heat and dynamics means motion. So when we are studying about the transfer of energy, transfer of heat, we are studying thermodynamics. It is a macroscopic description. This means that in thermodynamics we will only be concerned with the bulk phenomena. We will consider all the particles together and then study it. Initially it was thought that heat is a fluid, heat is a form of a fluid, but then it was later found out that no, heat is not a fluid, it is a form of energy. So before we start, let's just quickly understand again what is temperature and what is heat. So temperature is the average kinetic energy of the particles of any medium. Okay, temperature is the average kinetic energy of the particles of any medium. We know that every object has some atoms and molecules in them, and they vibrate or move. Okay, they have some kinetic energy. Obviously their velocities are different, so because of that we take the average of the kinetic energy of all the particles, and that is called the temperature. So in solids the motion is very less, therefore the temperature is less. In gases the motion is very high, therefore the temperature is very high. So there are various different units like Kelvin, degree Fahrenheit, degree Celsius, etc., degree Rankine. So there are multiple units to measure the temperature. And what is heat? So whenever we have hot and cold object and they are put in contact with each other, so then then energy transfers takes place from hotter object to the colder object, and that transfer or flow of energy is called the heat, and its units are joule, erg, or calorie. So heat is the transfer of energy. So now let's start with the thermodynamics. So before we start the laws, we need to understand few basic terms. First is the thermodynamic system. Thermodynamic system, thermodynamic surrounding, and the universe. Okay, so this is our system. This is our system. What is thermodynamic system? Thermodynamic system is the object or the place which we are studying. Okay, the object which we are studying is called the thermodynamic system, and the place around that object is called the thermodynamic surrounding. So let's say we are studying this object, so this will be our thermodynamic system, and the place around this system will be called the thermodynamic surrounding. Now this surrounding and system all comes into one thing which is called the universe. Okay, universe encompass everything. So this is our complete universe in which the system and surrounding are present. Now let's discuss about boundary. So boundary is the thing which separates the surrounding from the system. Boundary separates this is the boundary, it separates the surrounding from the system. So there are two types of boundaries, diathermic and adiabatic. So diathermic is a boundary in which heat exchange is allowed, and adiabatic is a boundary in which heat exchange is not allowed. Now let's discuss about the system. So this system, thermodynamic system, can be of three types: open system, closed system, isolated system. So open system is a system in which energy and matter both can be exchanged with the surrounding. In closed system, energy can be exchanged with the surrounding, but matter or particles cannot be exchanged with the surrounding. And in isolated system, neither energy nor matter can be exchanged with the surrounding. Now we have some variables that we need to understand and that we will be studying in this chapter. So that are temperature, pressure, and volume. So what is temperature? It is the average kinetic energy of the particles of any medium. What is volume? Volume is just the space or this surrounding. And what is pressure? Pressure is force upon area or force per unit area. More the force, more will be the pressure. More the area, less will be the pressure. Now there are different types of processes. Isothermal process is a process in which temperature remains constant. Isobaric is a process in which pressure remains constant. Isochoric is a process in which volume remains constant. Adiabatic is a process in which heat exchange does not take place. Diathermic is a process in which heat exchange takes place. Now there is this important term called thermodynamic equilibrium. So the meaning of thermodynamic equilibrium means when the object is in mechanical equilibrium, thermal equilibrium, as well as in chemical equilibrium, then we say that it is in thermodynamic equilibrium. When the objects are in mechanical, thermal and chemical equilibrium, then we say that it is in thermodynamic equilibrium. Thermal equilibrium means temperature must be same. Chemical equilibrium means that reaction, the forward reaction and backward reaction are same. Mechanical equilibrium means that there is no transfer of any material. Now equilibrium is of two types, static equilibrium and dynamic equilibrium. So in static equilibrium nothing happens, the matter is not exchanged between the objects, nothing happens. But usually the equilibriums are dynamic in nature, which means that let's say these two are in thermal equilibrium, that is they are at same temperature, so and they are connected. So it is not the case that no energy will be transferred. What will happen is that the amount of energy given by this object to this object will be equal to the amount of energy given by object B to object A. So there will be no net flow will be zero, but there will be still some transfer of energy. So this is dynamic equilibrium. Now this is equation of state, which is very important. PV equal to nRT, where P is pressure, V is volume, N is number of moles, R is the gas constant, T is the temperature. So T, P and V, they are all mutually dependent, and it is represented by equation of state. Now there are quite a few laws in thermodynamics. First is the zeroth law. Zeroth law was discovered later on, because of that it is called the zeroth law, and it is more fundamental. So it was discovered in 1931, and it is quite simple. We have studied about zeroth law, that if, let's say if object A is in equilibrium with C and B is also in equilibrium with C, then A and B will also be equilibrium with each other. It was given by R.H. Fowler. Then the first law is important. First law states that the amount of heat that we give to any object do two things. First, it can do some work on the system, and second, it can increase the internal energy or change the internal energy of the system. So U is the internal energy. Internal energy means the energy of the molecules or particles, usually kinetic as well as potential energies, but mostly we will be focused on the kinetic energy. So when we give the heat to any object, then its kinetic energy, that is its internal energy of the molecules, increase, and the work, and there can be some work done on the system. The second law is the first law does not tell us about the direction of flow of heat. So according to second law, naturally energy or heat only flows from high temperature body to a lower temperature body. Okay, naturally energy always flows from higher temperature body to lower temperature body. This does not mean that we cannot transfer energy from lower temperature to higher temperature body, but in that case we will need to supply some energy, we will need to do some work, then only that will happen. But naturally, without us doing anything, naturally heat will always, or energy will always flow from high temperature body to lower temperature body. And third law is the law of entropy. Entropy means randomness. So according to the third law, entropy of the universe always tend to increase naturally with time. That is, randomness in the universe always tends to increase with time. So let us now understand the meaning of internal energy. We know what is heat. Okay, we know what is heat. So let's understand internal energy and then work done. So internal energy is the energy of the particles present in the system. Obviously it can be in the form of kinetic energy, it can be in the form of potential energy. Kinetic energy can be translational, rotational or vibrational. Usually we do not consider potential energy that much. because in thermodynamics most of the times we discuss about the gases. So in gases the force of attraction between molecules is almost zero, so there is no potential energy between them. So internal energy is the energy of the molecules or particles present in the system. What is work done? So work done is quite simple. Work done is force into displacement, but what you need to understand is, in physics, if the work done is done by the system, we take it as positive, and if the work done is on the system, we take it as negative. In chemistry it is reverse. In chemistry, when work done is on the system, we take it positive, and when work done is by the system, we take it negative. So this sign convention is very important. Similarly, heat is there. If heat is added to system, we take it as positive heat, and if heat is removed from the system, we take it negative. So ultimately we have heat, work done, and internal energy. Remember, work done is force into displacement, which can be further put like pressure into volume. How? Look, so force is pressure into area. Now area into this length is volume, so we get pressure into volume. So the change in work done will be equal to pressure into change in volume. Why is it necessary? Because if volume will not change, there will be no displacement, and that means no work done will be there. So we can also write this equation like del q equal to del u plus p del v. Now there are some state functions, and those state functions make up the equation of state. For ideal gas, the equation of state is PV equal to nRT. We will understand about state function in a moment. Now let's understand about few processes. So reversible process, cyclic process, and irreversible process. So irreversible is a simple process. It is a process which do not reach the initial point or the point from where it started. It ends up somewhere else. So let's say we started from here, and after some time, let's say we end up here. So it is an irreversible process because we do not reach the initial point that we started from. Now there are two processes, reversible and cyclic. So in both these processes we reach the initial point. Okay, we again reach back to the initial point, but in reversible process we take the exact path from which we have come. If we have come like this, so we will go like this only. But in cyclic process we do not follow the path from which we have come. So let's say we come from this path, but we will not go back from this path. We will take another path and we will go back from different path to that initial point. So that is called cyclic process because a cycle is formed here. In reversible process, the change in the internal energy is zero. In cyclic process also the change in internal energy is zero, because internal energy is a point function which only depends on the location. The change in entropy is also zero in this case, and in the case of cyclic process heat is equal to change in the work done, because internal energy is zero. In irreversible processes usually the entropy is greater than or equal to zero, and the spontaneous processes are irreversible. What does this mean? Spontaneous process is a process which occurs without any need of external help. It happens naturally. So spontaneous processes are irreversible processes, and quasi-static processes are reversible processes. So what are quasi-static processes? So we will come to that in a moment, just wait. Before that, remember, reversible follows exact same path, cyclic follow different path. Okay, now let's understand about quasi-static process. So quasi means almost and static means rest. So when something changes so slowly that we do not observe it to be changing. For example, if your hairs are increasing, if the length of your hair is increasing, so do you notice it? you do not. But after, let's say, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, 1 month, you observe that the length of your hairs has increased. So it means that the length of the hair is increasing, but the growth is so slow that in real time you do not observe it. In real time it does not seem that the length is increasing. So the process which is very slow is called quasi-static process, and in real time we do not think that something is happening. So as discussed, this isothermal, adiabatic, isobaric, isochoric processes are there. So in this temperature is constant, heat is constant, pressure is constant, volume is constant. So if temperature is constant, that means internal energy is not changing because kinetic energy is constant. So internal energy change will be 0, here heat change will be 0, here work done will not be equal to 0, here work done will be equal to 0 because the change in volume is 0. So this will mean that heat will be equal to the work done. Here heat internal energy will be equal to the negative of the work done. Here the formula will remain as it is. Change in pressure will be 0, by the way, and here heat will be equal to the internal energy. Now let us study about the heat engines, and then we will move on to heat pumps. So heat engine is a device which convert energy like heat into work done. So we have three main things here: working substance, source and sink. So these things will do some work, and remember it will be a cyclic process. So let's say we have a source, we have a sink, we have a working substance, and from all these three things we will obtain some work. So what is source? Source is any object or any place which is at very high temperature. Ideally it should be infinity. And sink is a place which is at very low temperature, ideally speaking lowest possible temperature, that is minus 273 degrees Celsius. So source is at very high temperature, sink is at very low temperature. Source will give off the heat, sink will take the heat. So what happens is that when you give the heat to the working substance like any fuel, okay, for example let's say petrol, so when the heat is given to the petrol, then it will burn, and it will give off some energy in the form of work done. We will be able to do work done from it, and the remaining heat that will be lost or that will be emitted by the working substance will be given to the sink. So work done is ultimately equal to Q1 minus Q2, heat given minus heat lost. So efficiency is output upon input. So output is work done, input is Q1, so work done is Q1 minus Q2, so Q1 minus Q2 over Q1. So efficiency is 1 minus Q2 over Q1, and this can be also written in terms of temperature, 1 minus T2 over T1. So this is the heat engine. Now efficiency, all these things are not possible. It is not possible that efficiency becomes 1, that is 100%. Why? Because in that case Q2 over Q1 has to be 0. That means that all the heat supplied should go to the work done, but it is not possible. There will always be some heat lost. Then efficiency is usually also not 0, because in that case all the heat has to be transferred to the sink, and it is of no use to us. Then efficiency cannot be minus infinity, because in that case Q2 over Q1 must be infinity, that is Q2 must be infinity or Q1 must be 0, which is not possible. And efficiency cannot be infinity because Q2 or Q1 cannot be minus infinity. So all these things are not possible. So ultimately what you need to remember is that efficiency is always between 0 to 1, that is it is between 0% to 100%. Efficiency is always between 0% and 100%. So heat engine can be of two types: internal combustion engine and external combustion engine. In internal combustion engine, heat is or all this process is done inside a vessel, inside a container, and in external combustion engine it is done outside in an open cylinder, open object. Now let's study about the heat pumps. So heat pumps are reverse of heat engines. They convert work done into heat energy. Or to understand this, heat engines are like petrol engine, diesel engine, in which we give in some energy in the form, and we give in some petrol, and work is done, the vehicle is moved. And heat pump is like the refrigerator, in which we provide some energy, and it converts it takes out the heat from the lower temperature body and gives off the heat to the higher temperature body. That is, we take the heat from the sink and give off to the source. Here we do the natural thing, take the heat from the higher temperature body and give to the lower temperature body. But here we will give the heat to the higher temperature body and take it from the low temperature body. So in this process some work has to be done. So again, quite simple, work done will be done, some heat will be taken off, and it will be given off to the heat reservoir. So ultimately alpha is the coefficient of performance, which is Q2 over work done. Again, work done will be equal to Q1 minus Q2, so it will be Q2 over Q1 minus Q2, Q2 over Q1 minus Q2. So we want efficiency to be 1 and alpha to be infinity, but obviously this is not always possible. So let's study about the Carnot engine. So Carnot engine was first given by Sadi Carnot in 1824. It is a theoretical engine, and its efficiency is maximum. So Sadi Carnot was thinking about making an engine which is which has maximum efficiency. So in Carnot engine we will operate it between any two temperatures T1 and T2, and the ideal gas will be used as a working substance. So it is an ideal engine whose efficiency is maximum. So it is quite similar. So first of all, this will be a reversible engine, that is, it will again come back to its original position, and it will follow quasi-static process, because in non-quasi-static process reversible process is not possible. So let's say we are starting from here, and we will again come back here. So in this graph between pressure and volume, we can see the process starts from point A, then we go to point B, then to point C, then to point D, and then again back to point A. So let's say the pressure, volume and temperature at point A is P1, V1 and T1. Now the step 1 is that there will be expansion when we go from A to B, but that expansion will be isothermal expansion, that is, in this expansion the temperature will remain constant. Once we reach the point B, as the temperature was constant, isothermal process was there, so temperature will remain same, T1, and volume and pressure will change. Volume will become V2, pressure will become V2, P2. Now after that some more expansion will be there, but this time the expansion will be adiabatic. Adiabatic means the heat exchange will not be there, but obviously temperature can change. So pressure will be P3, volume V3, and temperature will become T2 from T1. After point C, we will start the compression process. This was expansion, now we will do compression. So C to D is isothermal compression, where temperature will remain constant, so pressure will become P4, volume will become V4, but temperature will remain T2. After point D, there will be more compression, but this will be adiabatic compression. So D to A, adiabatic compression, the values change from T2, and the temperature will again become T1, V4 will become V1, P4 will become P1. So this is how we reach the initial point again, and this cycle is called Carnot cycle. So what will be the work done? So work done for isothermal process is given by this formula, where nu is the number of moles. So mu RT T1 log V2 over V1. Then from C to D compression is there, so log V4 over V3 and T2 temperature. And BC and DA is adiabatic process, in which the work done is given by this formula, mu r into T2 minus T1 upon 1 minus gamma, and my mu r over T1 minus T2 1 minus gamma. So what will be the total work done? Total work done will be the sum of all the work done. So we will obtain this work done is expansion and this work done is for compression. So expansion work done is considered positive and compression work done is considered negative. So once you put all the values, you will find that the work done will come out to be this much. Okay. And what is efficiency? We know that efficiency is work done upon Q1, so it will be 1 minus Q2 upon Q1, and we can put the value of Q2 and Q1 here as that we have found over here. This is Q1, this is Q2, because in these two processes it is adiabatic, so heat exchange is not there. So once we simplify this further, so we get efficiency to be equal to this value. Now the efficiency is also can be written like 1 minus T2 over T1 and 1 minus Q2 over Q1, and this is the efficiency of the Carnot engine. And if we compare that, Q1 over Q2 will be equal to T1 over T2. So Carnot engine is the most efficient engine in which we have a reversible process, a cyclic process, which consists of expansion and compression. First isothermal expansion, then adiabatic expansion, then isothermal compression, and then adiabatic compression. And in this process, some work is done by the working substance.